what we're making today. Hello everyone and welcome to Crafting with Delonda. It's me again, Delonda, and thank you so much for joining me today. In today's tutorial, I will be using several pieces of painted wood and my WeCreat Vision 20 watt in order to demonstrate how I put this all together. Hopefully you do find it helpful. If you do, please remember to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the bell for notifications because I do upload new content every single week. Now, without further ado, let's look at all of the materials that you'll need and we'll dive right into the WeCreat Make It software. The materials I use for this project include 3mm basswood that I purchased in a pack from Amazon. It was 12 by 18 3mm basswood. I painted the pieces that I needed to paint. One is green, the other is navy blue, one is white. I used a variety of paint. I used a variety of paint brushes. I am going to use a combination of this ribbon. Most of this ribbon I purchased locally, but these two with the stars were purchased from Amazon. This wood round is 15.75 inches. It was also purchased from Walmart. And I use spray paint to go over the wood round. I'll use 3M adhesive to secure the wood pieces together. And I will use this Krylon clear glaze to go over the top of the project when I'm completely finished. The machine that I'm going to use to cut the wood is the WeCreat 20 watt Vision diode laser engraver, but you could also, of course, use a WeCreat Vista and just follow the settings for cutting 3mm basswood. The file that I'm using can be found on the designbundles.net website and also below this video. Now, without further ado, let's go in to the software and look at the WeCreat Make It so I can show you the fonts that I used and how I put the file together. The first thing we're going to do is download this file from the Design Bundles website. If you're planning to use this bottom part, this football field part, that's basically all I'm using from here. So this part right here is absolutely optional. So I'm going to click download and I'll get it extracted. And then I'll head over to the WeCreat Make It software. Now I'm in the WeCreat Make It software. I'm connected to my WeCreat Vision 20 watt. I'm connected via USB. The first thing I'll do here is click on shapes and I'll grab a circle and I am going to change the size of the circle to a width of 15.75 and a height of 15.75. And then I'm going to lock the proportions. I'm changing the circle from a line engrave to a fill engrave. And I am going to change the color to this, let's just change it to this gray for now. I'm going to bring the view down just a little bit. And I'm going to right click and click on copy and paste. So I have two circles. Okay, so in the software right now, I just have two circles. Both of them, they are the same size, 15.75. My proportions are locked. The next thing I'm going to do is import the file from Design Bundles. I'm going to click on import. I'm going to navigate to where I have that file saved. It's in my Design Bundles files folder, in my laser files. Hello football season. I'm clicking on SVG laser and I'm bringing in the one that's called laser all-in-one SVG. Okay. So when the file comes in, you'll see all the different parts. I'm just going to move this out and over. And what I'm going to do from here is I am going to just take the pieces out that I plan to keep. So I'm going to click right here on the piece that represents the football field. And I'm going to move that down. And I'm also going to select the football. I'll select the football. You'll see that it's made up of 3 different parts. I'm going to just group it for now and move it down here. All of this other stuff, I'm going to just delete it because I don't plan to use it. Okay, so I have a football and I have the football field. All right, so now let's bring the view back up and hopefully we're still together. The next thing I'm going to do with the piece that is considered as the football field is I'm going to select it. I'm going to click on the option to rotate it, and I am going to change it from a line engrave to fill engrave right here. And I plan on having mine green to represent the football field and of course to represent the fake grass. And what I'm going to do now is just bring it down here on top of my circle, and I am going to resize it so that it's basically the same size as the bottom of the circle, the bottom portion of the circle. So I'm just going to grab a corner and start to resize it until it kind of fills up that bottom part of the circle. Okay, let's get in close so we can see it. The size that I have found that is just like perfect is having it be a width of 6.738. So I'm going to click right here, 6.738, and I'm going to click unlock, and I'm going to change the height to 15.6. 15.6, like that. Okay, and then what I'll do is select both. I'll select the circle and the football field, and I'll click on the option to align. And first I want to align it to the bottom, and then I also want to center it horizontally like that. Okay, so that looks great. Now what I'm going to do is duplicate the field, because part of my file will represent the field, but right here where you see the numbers 30, 40, 50, those are actually going to be white, and those lines in between the numbers will also be white. So what I'm going to do is right click, I'm going to click copy, and I'm going to bring a copy over here, and I'm going to click paste. Okay, so now I have my football field and it'll be down here at the bottom. Now, what I'm going to do with this, with the football field selected, it should be the same size as this, but this time I don't want the field. I actually want the part that will represent the numbers. What I'm going to do is select the option to split. So you can see I have the football field selected. I'm going to click on split, and right here, if I make the view bigger, you can see I have all of these rectangles. What I'm going to do is move this bigger piece out of the way. Let's just move that out of the way. And you'll see that I have these numbers. What I want to do with those numbers, let's move this too, just so we can see it. I want to select these numbers, and I want to, let's go ahead and merge them. And I'm also going to change the color of those to this like white, because they're going to be just like on top, just like that. Okay, so that's going to be perfect. All right, so now we have part of our file ready to go. So I know it's going to be white. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to use this circle right here. Let's move this one out of the way. Just, we don't need it. We actually are not going to need that circle at all. But what we're going to do now is grab this second circle, which is basically our extra circle. And I am going to grab a rectangle. So I'm coming over here to shapes. I'm going to click on rectangle, and I am going to, let's see if I can do that. Rectangle. I want to make a rectangle that goes just basically directly across the circle. 0.5. And what I'm going to do is change that rectangle from a line engrave to a fill engrave. And for now, let's just change it to white. And what I'm going to do is select the circle and that that rectangle, and I'm going to click on Align Center Horizontally so it's centered, and select the circle and the rectangle. And I am going to select the option to merge overlapping shapes. So I'm going to click on Merge, and I'm going to select Merge Overlapping Shapes. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm going to use that line for a specific reason. I'm going to click on Merge Overlapping Shapes, and that's going to just give me this line left over. I'm going to change the color of this to this navy blue. And if you can see, when I zoom in, you can see that it kind of has a curve on the edge. That's the reason why I wanted to do it that way, so that when I put it on top of my regular circle, the one that you saw that's already painted white, it'll have a curve to it. All right, so what I'm going to do now is go ahead and grab my text. I'm going to click on the T for text, and I'm just going to double click in there, and I'm going to turn on my caps lock, and I'm going to type Dallas. Okay, and instead of having it be on line engrave, I'm going to put it on fill engrave. I'm going to change the color of it to the blue to match this, and I want it to be really big. And I also want to change the font. I want to use, I'm not sure if I want to use the font called Anton. Okay. And I want to make sure that the text and that rectangle are aligned. So I am going to click center horizontally. And I'm also going to make sure that this text is touching that line. All right, so now what I'm going to do is add the word Cowboys. So I'm going to grab my text, and I'm gonna just double click in there. I'm turning the caps lock off. Cowboys. And the font that I'm using is a system font. It's a font that's called Digital, and it's one of my recently used fonts, so I will find it here. I will make sure the fonts are linked below the video, and let's change it to a fill engrave. And I do want it to be bigger, like this. That looks great. Now, let's make this a little bit wider. What I also want to do is change the color of the text. I actually want the text to be white, but I want it to have an offset. So I'm going to click on the option for offset right here, and I'm bringing the offset up to 135. Now remember that the circle represents the wood round that I have. All I'm doing here is selecting the pieces that will need to be cut, which is pretty much everything. The green part, that's the football field, the white part of the text that says Cowboys, the silver part of the Cowboys, the word Dallas, and then the actual football. Now that football is also optional. It was included with the file that I imported. I'm going to go ahead and set my speed and my power. For all of the basswood, I like to use a power of 100, and a speed, I kind of dropped the speed down to 5 because I definitely want to get a good cut. But before I cut any of the pieces, I added the 3M adhesive on the back. I'll show you that because everything I'll do from here will be back on the camera. So here is my green basswood that I painted, and this is my 3M adhesive. I'm just going to put the 3M adhesive on the back of the wood so that when I cut it, I won't have to glue it down. Now, you don't have to use this, but it does make things a lot easier instead of trying to cut everything. This 3M adhesive does come with a knife, which is also very helpful. Okay, so it's here on the back. I'm going to put this inside the WeCreat and let my WeCreat cut this. What I'm doing here is just taking the pieces out, putting the next piece in so that I can get all of my basswood cut. The gray piece for the word Cowboys was actually the gray craft plastic that I purchased from here, from Houston Acrylic. It's a local place here in Houston. And I just use the recommended settings that are in the WeCreat Make It software. If the setting was set to 7, I dropped it down to 5. If the settings were set to 10, I dropped it down to 8. Whatever the settings were, I dropped it down by 2. And I made sure that all of my material had the 3M adhesive on the back. So I'm just going to remove the adhesive. Got a little bit of charring, which is fine. I'm not sure what happened right there, but it's fine. All right, and so I want to make sure that this is, right here in the middle. And I'm gonna glue it down. Now, initially, I was going to add the numbers, but I don't think I need to since this is white. It already looks good just like this. Now, the next piece I'm going to add is this. And I really wanted the letters to be stuck to it, but it didn't work out that way, and it's fine. So I'll just remove this. And I'll attach it right here. That's looking really good. Now I'm going to start to add Dallas, but because I want to make sure it's really straight, I'm going to get the piece of wood that this was cut from, which is this piece right here. And what I'm going to do is use this to line it up. So here is that line right there. And I will just remove the adhesive from the back and stick it down right in there so that I can get it lined up. I'm so grateful that I was actually simultaneously recording with my phone because I had to use the video from my phone to demonstrate this part. I thought I was recording with my other camera and I wasn't. So what I'm doing right here is just removing the adhesive from the back, and I'm using that piece of wood that the letters were cut from to make sure my alignment is straight. And I'm just going to drop the letters down in there. I'm doing this carefully to make sure that everything is straight since I didn't get the letters attached to that rectangle. And what I'm doing right here is removing the adhesive from the back of the word Cowboys. And I am going to place it down right there on top of Dallas, just kind of wherever I feel like it would fit the best. This is going to be a matter of personal preference, but I also say be really careful about this because the adhesive is very sticky. And once it's down, it's down. Now we're back to an overhead view, and what I'm doing right here is I am going to use that football material that I purchased from Houston Acrylic. Once again, that's a local company, and I am going to attach it to that white piece of 3mm basswood. Remember, the football is optional, but I thought it just added a little bit of razzle dazzle to the sign. And since I had the football material, I decided to use it. I cut the pieces from the football and I added them. I don't think that other piece is supposed to be white, but it's fine. It ended up looking really cute. And then the last thing I'll do is add in the ribbon. I'm going to be honest and say this whole ribbon thing is definitely not my forte, but I did my very best. What I did was I got some ribbon and I kind of feel like I just wanted to lay it out, like fan it out. So I have the stars. I'm going to start from the bottom. I'll use the stripes and then a plain piece and then go back to the stars. And all I'm doing is just fanning it out. I have a plain piece of silver, then I'm going to my stripes, and then I'm going to go to the stars. Those stars came from Amazon. Then the stripes came from a local company. Then back to the plain piece. I'm just going to repeat that same pattern again. I'm just making a makeshift fan. And once I have all of the pieces all laid out, I will bunch them up so that I can kind of tie them together. I'm going to use that pipe cleaner right there and wrap it around as tight as I can. And then I'll cut away the excess pieces. Now, this is not a real technique that I'm using right here. This is very bootleg, but it worked. So cutting away the excess pieces. And what I'm going to do now is just take an extra piece of ribbon and just wrap it around to cover up the pipe cleaner. But I'm also going to tie that super, super tight. And since all of this ribbon is wired, I'm going to flatten that out and just wrap it around to make it look like it's a part of that bow. What I'm doing right here is just cutting the little dovetails. And I really should have cut these at the same time that I cut the ribbon. But I'm going to cut them here first and then eventually cut them a lot shorter. Still don't even know if it's short enough, but I was just trying to make it a little bit cute. And then once I get them as short as I want them, I'll start to fluff out the bow. So now I have the hot glue gun right there on the side, and I have the bow kind of created for the most part. I'm still going to end up cutting it a little bit shorter, but I'm adding some hot glue right there where the bow is flat. So this is basically the back of the ribbon. I'll put the bow at the top of the wood round and press it until it's firmly in place. I'm also going to glue some of that ribbon down that I'm not going to fluff out. But right here, I'm just kind of still fluffing it out. I'm going to cut more of the ribbon to make sure the word Dallas actually shows, and then I'll be finished. This part is definitely going to be a matter of personal preference. You might be a lot better at, putting the bow together than I am, but this is kind of like a messy bow option for those of you who are like me and not really good at making bows. But hopefully you did find this helpful. If you did, please remember to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and turn on the bell for notifications because I do upload new content every single week. Thank you so much for joining me today, and thanks for watching. Bye.